Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champ AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, I want to introduce a new topic, 32 burning questions about each NFL team. I want to start with the San Francisco 49ers because they've been in the news lately. Brandon Aiyuk specifically saying, hey, the 49ers don't want me.
They don't want me no more.
They don't want me.
They don't want me no more.
If Brandon Aiyuk leaves the 49ers, how does that affect the other receiving options and just that offense overall? Like, is Debo the same player if Aiyuk is no longer there?
Man, the first question is, do y'all think that Aiyuk is actually going to get traded?
I mean,
Quick, yes or no?
Yes.
Like before season, in season,
I mean,
or postseason?
If our source is correct, then
I think it's Debo's going to get traded.
he's getting traded.
Oh, so you think Debo's getting traded?
I think Debo gets traded.
Okay.
Too. Unless they just can't come to an agreement with Aiyuk. But
that's what
I
it
think
sounds like.
I think part of what's blocking them from the numbers working out with Aiyuk is Debo's numbers in the way. Remember, Dio got paid, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Because remember, he had like a holdout or something. They were talking about trading him, and they gave him a bag.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I was like, if I'm the 49ers, I'm like, can I justify paying two receivers big money and having just paid C-Mac and Brock Purdy's eventually going to come?
Brock Purdy next year. But
so
they really shouldn't have extended C-Mac.
What?
I mean,
they shouldn't have?
No.
Nah. C-Mac is like the cornerstone of that offense.
He is, but was he really asking for an extension?
I think
it seemed like it came out of nowhere.
No, I think he didn't report to minicamp.
Yeah.
I remember actually hearing that he didn't report. Yeah. So I think he made like a minor holdout type deal.
Yeah. An important distinction with the 49ers versus like any other team that's kind of going through this.
Oh, real quick, hold that thought.
Yeah.
I just want, before I forget, the reason why. I want to explain why I said Debo. Between the two receivers, I think Aiyuk is the true receiver. Like he runs precise routes. He can beat man coverage, zone, all that stuff. I think Debo is more of a glorified wingback or running back that just catches passes. He gets a lot of screens, a lot of slants, things like that. Yeah. And I feel like if you're going to decide which one out of those two to keep, I think you should keep Aiyuk.
Even with Debo's production.
But this is the thing. So, like, I 100% agree with you. Like, I think everybody agrees with you that Aiyuk is just a better receiver. We got eye test metrics. Doesn't matter. Like, Aiyuk is a better receiver. But is that more easily replaceable, at least in their eyes, in that particular system where people are schemed open, than Debo? Because they did, like, when you look at Ricky Pearsall, who does he most closely resemble?
You're right.
Yeah.
Aiyuk. So, like, this is what I was going to say is that, the 49ers are in a unique position right now because they are Super Bowl contenders, like legit. They were just there. They have this window, and they have this window with a quarterback that's on his rookie deal, a very, very, just a very cheap deal, basically.
Team-friendly deal.
Team-friendly deal. So they're kind of, I think, in a very unique situation where I think they're in no rush to do anything. I think everything is on the table. Could be Debo. I think it's most likely Aiyuk. But I honestly think that nothing happens. I think Aiyuk plays this year, and they just may risk it. They may look, right up until the trade deadline, look at the team, assess the team, and think to themselves, we are contenders again this year. This could be our Super Bowl. And if it means that we get a Super Bowl in 2024 and we lose Aiyuk in 2025 and then we replace that with Pearsall, I think they're fine with that. And it's Shanahan. Shanahan is comfortable really having any wide receiver come in and be placed in his scheme. And as long as they are running the right routes and where they are supposed to be, I feel like he has sort of kind of the confidence in his play calling and in his scheme that he can like really fit anyone in there.
I agree with that point.
It's really telling like where they took Ricky Pearsall too. Like it's really telling that they took a wide receiver there. So already in the back of their mind, they are thinking reload.
I mean, I honestly think that Coach Shanahan, he can utilize whatever weapons he has available to him. Like, you have a Debo, okay, what are Debo's strengths? We're going to utilize them.
Yeah.
Debo's not available, you have Ayuk, what is his strength?
Yeah.
If we trade Debo and we have Ayuk and Pearsall, all of a sudden now we have this crazy passing game where we have 2 route runners that can go crazy. Don't forget, they did give Juwan Jennings a little bit of money. Like, they re-signed him, and it wasn't like a horrible contract. And then they also drafted in the 4th round Jacob Cowing, who some people I've heard compared to like a Tank Dell Light, So, I think
mention the name one more time.
Jacob Cowing.
Okay, there you
have
go.
I not mentioned him on the show before?
You have. I just want to make sure the viewers are aware.
I think Shanahan is at this position where no matter how it plays out, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'll formulate the offense to whatever type of options I have available to me.
So this is the question. The question to me, like, I don't really think the topic should be centered around, like, okay, what happens to the 49ers if Ayuk is traded? Because we don't know if he's going to get traded. We don't know if Debo's going to get traded. We don't know if he's going to play the season. The question to me is, people are drafting right now. If you're listening to this, you're drafting right now in some format. Whether it's Best Ball, Underdog, DraftKings, FFPC, whatever format, you're drafting right now. Maybe you're even doing a startup. So the question right now is, how do you draft the 49ers skill position players right now? You would assume CMC really doesn't change much. Whether Ayuk is there, Debo's there, maybe if Debo's gone, maybe, CMC actually increases just a little bit, but you would assume CMC value doesn't change much. But to me, it really starts with Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and Ricky Pearsall.
Can I say what I would do?
Yes, please.
My view of it, because I literally have never thought about it till you just asked that question. But honestly, thinking about it, I think if any trade happens, no matter who's traded, I think it benefits every single player that you're speaking of.
Absolutely. So I
think if you get rid of one of the receivers, it benefits the other receiver.
Yeah.
And then the team that's trading for said receiver, they're going to probably try to utilize him as much as possible because obviously they're going to have to pay him. And then not only does it benefit all those pieces, it also benefits the backups because now somebody ahead of him in the depth chart or the pecking order is now removed. Yeah. So I don't know if it's probably going to be Pearsall, right? Because we hear about how great his route running is. Yeah. But all of them kind of go up in the pecking order. So
if our source is correct, and if Ayuk goes to
who's our source?
No, come on now. We're not going there.
If our source is correct, and Ayuk goes to Pittsburgh,
yeah.
You think that he is just as valuable in Pittsburgh with Pickens there as he would if he was staying in San Francisco?
That's a good question, but I really think he just has the talent, and I think they're going to force feed him.
This is how I'm playing it. Ayuk is right now going in late second,
third.
Yeah. If you're in best ball, I think he's pretty much going in the second. So second, third round.
Depends what kind of best ball league you're in, though.
Yeah, best ball, redraft, second, third round. I don't really see a scenario where like that just significantly increases, in my opinion.
Oh no.
So for me, he's already being drafted like where he is at his max.
Yeah.
So
which kind of makes me feel like he might be, if things stay the same status quo,
he's overvalued.
Bingo.
Because as great as Ayuk is at separating and just dominating, putting up dominating performance, at any given moment, there's still an issue with volume. There's still an issue that the ball gets spread around. There's still an issue week to week. Someone, like someone's being schemed up, or someone's like there's a dedicated game plan for a Debo or a Kittle or et cetera, because based on whatever defense they're playing. Yeah. So for me, like the way that I'm approaching it right now is I'm just not drafting Ayuk unless he just like really falls past ADP. I just don't see the value in it because I know I'm going to be drafting in July. I know I'm going to be drafting in August. I know I'm going to be drafting in September. So why am I going to pay this premium for him right now?
Right. What about Debo?
Debo?
Where's Debo being taken, by the way?
Debo is, for the most part, being taken in the third and fourth round.
Ooh.
So I actually really like Debo right now because we've seen him in this system when healthy, actually almost post wide receiver one, round one type value. Okay? If you really project his healthy games, points per game, and kind of average him out if he played a full game or a full season, he finishes in as a wide receiver one. It doesn't matter how good he is at route running or, how much better Ayuk is. It's how they use him. Right. And he's dynamic with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. But
he's also potentially, playing for like another contract as well.
But you then have to just consider the Pearsall factor, right? Like you now have another receiver who's a first round graded, a great route runner. Like I don't see them. If you would have asked me when they're on the field, if it's a 2 wide receiver set and they want to put Pearsall out there, who are they like benching? I think it would be Debo, just because Ayuk and Pearsall give him the route runners on both sides of the field.
Yeah.
So that's why I think. Like, I'm not sure where to value Debo yet because he's not going to be in the backfield like he was before. Like, that value that he used to have a couple years back.
I think he still has that. I think he still has that.
I mean, I think once C-Mac came into the fold, it reduced the amount of times they utilized him in that role. Now, they can still use him, of course, but I think C-Mac had so much volume last year, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah. They're always talking about offsetting this. I don't think, to me, if everything stays the same, meaning Ayuk does not get traded, I think Pearsall is just a backup to me. He's just a backup.
So you don't see them using him this year?
I'm not concerned with him at all. He's still got, all the camp talks, the OTA talks, like, yes, I mean, he doesn't have, we already knew he was a great route runner. We knew he was like athletic. People don't have pads on, people not block. Like it's still a process he has to go through as a rookie in this system, earning the trust and etc.
I guess I'm just the fact that he was a first round draft pick, right? And I don't think he was considered to be a first round pick leading up to the draft. Like I think probably people saw him more like a second round pick. Same place like AD Mitchell and all those other receivers. I think him being drafted by the 49ers there, they always talk about the fact that teams want to have that 5th-year option available to them. So I think they kind of had a vision for Pearsall. And, Shanahan is an offensive type genius. He might scheme his whole offense differently this year. We don't know.
I don't know. And you definitely got to keep that in mind because maybe they do more 3 wide receiver sets. They did re-up, who's the 3rd wide receiver?
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, they did re-up Juwan Jennings, who's just like I'll call him a football role player or whatever. Yeah. But this is what I would say about Pearsall is, again, like, they just, like, I think that's their contingency plan. Like, I think they are really just sort of kind of just like, they're not going to like jump the gun. They're not going to like take some like shitty offer and just say, okay, let's just give Ayuk because we can't pay him. They're going to play this thing out. They are Super Bowl contenders. So they're not going to, if you're a Super Bowl contender, you're not like just trading away Ayuk and saying, okay, I trust Ricky Pearsall. You're not doing that, Ayuk is a big part of that offense.
Right.
So I think you got to keep that in mind. And then the last thing that I'll say about this is, if you recall, back to draft night, there were tons and tons of rumors. So it may have been that they were trying to shop Ayuk and seeing that we can get max value for him.
We 100% know they were. Debo was in trade talks because Debo actually came out and said him and his agent were involved in trade talks. And he kind of said, that's no longer a thing anymore. But you know how that thing, it can open back up any moment. And Ayuk is already saying what they don't want me back. Is that what he's saying? So.
But that's an interesting thing, and I think you really have to sort of kind of, again, we're drafting very, very early. I think my takeaway is like no need to reach on Ayuk. I do feel like Debo, especially if he's going in the mid-4th round, is a value. I love that there. Kittle. We talk about Kittle.
Right. I think I love Kittle.
Yeah, I think Kittle is a tremendous value because this is the thing about Kittle, like. At any given year, like say like Debo just has like this like season-ending injury, or Ayuk has a season-ending injury, or one of them gets traded, or they just decide, like this is the year for Kittle. Any given year, Kittle could just like dominate, end up like being like number 1 or number 2 in targets, and just absolutely dominate.
Maybe
in that offense. So if Ayuk is gone, or somebody gets traded, or even somebody gets hurt, like. Kittle, where Kittle is going right now, he's basically being valued as he's been valued over like the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So his value to me can't go really any lower. I don't see it. So I like him as well. So, and then Pearsall, sorry, last one. Okay. Pearsall goes really, really late with the rookies. So that's like sort of kind of like if you want to play that game as far as just like, kind of almost similar to like a Khalil Herbert. Like just hoping like a trade like opens the door for more value for a late round player. Like I think I'll take a couple stabs in quite a few drafts.
So real quick question for you.
Yeah.
Real quick, you said you think Ayuk 2nd round is overvalued, but you also think Debo is a good value. So where would Ayuk be placed round wise where you would consider him a good value?
Probably 3rd, 4th round.
So the same round as Debo?
Yeah. The thing with Debo is they use him in the red zone.
Okay.
So you have to account for the increased TDs, okay? With Ayuk, really it's just going to be the receiving TDs. And so if I got it like when you account for like what Debo can do on the ground, and we've seen it for 2 years. When he's healthy and he plays, he's putting up points. He's putting up wide receiver 1 points. I have not seen that from IU. And so for guys I'm taking in the second round, I don't have to have seen it before, but I need to see a route where you can produce, and I don't see that route. Like,
I'm just asking, would you say Debo and Ayuk should be going in the same round? Would you say that's where they'd be both properly valued?
I personally would take Debo over him, but again,
Oh, really?
I would
That's
take.
interesting.
Yeah, I take Debo. I personally prefer Debo over Ayuk, but
okay.
Say a month from now, everything calms down. They're no longer trading Ayuk. Maybe they even re-up Ayuk. Everything stays the same from 2023 season. Same roster. Pearsall, let's just assume he's more of a backup type player, role player. I really want to have all these guys.
Okay.
Because I'm taking this approach in 2024. This is sort of kind of one thing that I brought over from 2023. Sort of kind of my end of season notes is that the way fantasy is set up right now, you can't, and you do a good job of this, but I'm kind of taking it to like not another level, but just sort of kind of a different route with it, where we can't look at what teams look like today in June or July or even September. We have to understand that like injuries happen, trades happen, a lot of different things happen. So sometimes having a guy that can just absolutely ball out, knowing that, okay, I'm taking him in the second round. If all things stay same, like there's no way he's hitting his value. But like not having an Ayuk in a tournament when Kittle goes down, when C-Mac goes down, when Debo goes down, like just because I had priors of in September, like all with him not having enough volume. Well, guess what? In December, things may change where he's getting tons of volume. He's getting like 10 targets a game because he's all they got, or he's their best player because guys have gone down. So he's definitely someone, because of the offense, because of the player, because of the play caller, he is absolutely someone I will have shares of. I'm just going to wait a little bit.
Guys, so let's stay on receivers for a second. I want to talk about the receiver 2 position because sometimes I feel like we spend so much time talking about who's the number 1 receiver on a particular team that we forget that there's a lot of fantasy value on who's the receiver 2. I want to talk about the New Orleans Saints. Not that I think that Derek Carr can sustain a receiver 2, but maybe a receiver 2 in that offense can have flashes. Who do we see as the receiver 2 on the New Orleans Saints?
Quick point on Derek Carr. I may butcher the stat, but I think he was either tied or second in the league in terms of the number of 300-plus yard games last year.
I had him on one of my teams, and I didn't feel like he was tied.
Derek Carr, no, we're not talking about Derek Carr in terms of drafting him. At least not in best ball. I think he's definitely viable in best ball because if you go back to the last 3 games of the season, he was actually very good.
The last 3 games, you're right.
We're counting. So you can't just discount players like that. But we're not talking about drafting like in a redraft format or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that listen to that. He was either first or second last year in the number of 300-plus yard games. Total 300. So that means he can produce a number 2 wide receiver at he's capable of it. He's done it.
If you say so.
I mean, if I say so, he's done it. He's done it. So I think you have to consider that before you start talking about the wide receiver 2 and whether or not he can support it. But go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, you're asking me who do I think?
Yeah. Who do you think?
I mean, the easy answer is Rashid Shaheed, right? The deep threat.
Yeah.
The burner. He's the type of player, especially for best ball, where he can have that spike week for you, where he can score a 70-yard touchdown on one pass. He's had stretches in the past where he had a few games where he did that. There's other people that are probably going to work themselves into the rotation that haven't been able to before, your A.T. Perry, who was the guy last year that was kind of starting to become a thing. They added Cedric Wilson Jr. now. I don't really know what that offense is going to be like. I'm not a big Derek Carr guy either. Matter of fact, I think Derek Carr is horrible.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's eventually replaced.
He is going to be
Or they
replaced.
start using Taysom Hill quite a bit more. And that offense just starts being a real gimmicky type offense. I don't know.
Let's see the game logs.
But definitely, as far as the number 2 right now, I definitely draft Rashid Shaheed. I'm not even sure I really totally have bought into Chris Olave as being this mid-second round receiver. You know, and I know he's had 2 good seasons yardage wise, and he looks the part, and there's nobody else talent wise that I feel like can compete with him. But just something about him makes me feel like I don't feel good him being my main receiver. I'd rather him be my wide receiver too. And the only way that can happen in drafts right now is if you take a receiver in the first round, and then take him in the second, or if he just happens to fall in the early part of the third. So. But yeah, as far as the wide receiver 2, I'm actually targeting Shaheed. I think Shaheed's going a little bit too late, honestly.
He is going a little late.
So yeah, for me, I think the offensive scheme and the offense in general, I think takes a major step forward. I thought their offensive play caller last year, they just whatever. The Saints organization just, I think they're scared to change. But Carmichael, that was the offensive coordinator last year, right? Just the play calling, especially the run game.
The run game was terrible.
It was just the play. It was just absolutely. It made no sense. It really made no sense. They call plays and call games just as if they were operating just from a defensive minded, and the coach is a defensive minded head coach. But it was just there was no imagination to the offense.
Specifically with Kamara, like they just wanted to run in between the tackles.
Run in between. None of it really gelled, and I feel like bringing in Kubiak, I think is going to make a major difference. Players seem to like it already, but I think kind of bringing in that play action pass, moving people around the formation, bringing in a little bit of creativity, just bringing in something new that defenses haven't seen. I think that's going to help open up the offense. So for that reason, I do like Olave. I think that there's going to be a viable number 2. I don't know if it's going to be the tight end. I don't know if it's going to be Shaheed.
Which tight end?
I don't know.
Juwan Jennings is hurt.
But he'll be back.
He'll miss most of camp, what I hear.
He'll miss most of camp, but he'll be back. He's he's a veteran now. Honestly, when it comes to wide receiver 2s, I feel like wide receiver 2 is the most overvalued position. If it were up to me, I really dislike drafting wide receiver 2s unless it's round 13 and later.
They're not all wide receiver 1s, man. It's only 32 of them.
I understand. I understand.
Sometimes not even 32 of them.
And I draft accordingly. I really dislike drafting wide receiver. I think almost all of them are overrated. Best ball is the perfect format for targeting these guys. But in redraft, y'all can have them. Why? I don't want a Shaheed on my team.
Or Cedric Wilson.
Or Cedric. I'll maybe take an A.T. Perry. Who knows? But.
Yeah. I can see that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I could see Shaheed. He's definitely put up some. He's put up numbers. He's been productive at times. But I could also kind of see A.T. Perry taking that step forward as well. You talk about Olave and you just kind of look at his, look at his profile as a player, being kind of a smaller type of player, and then you look at A.T. Perry, who's kind of more of an X-type wide receiver. You could potentially see a scenario where A.T. Perry really takes that next step and really prevents Olave from breaking out as a true wide receiver 1.
Do this for me, Dio. Rank the Buffalo Bills receiver. Who's the 1? Who's the 2? Who's the 3?
That's a good question.
Include tight ends in that as well.
Include the tight ends. Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna do that because y'all not gonna like my answer.
We want to hear it.
Right.
I think the number 1 there is Curtis Samuel.
Okay.
He's the veteran there. He's the only one there that's had any type of success in the NFL, right? Any type of success.
Chase Claypool has had some success.
He hasn't had no real success, man.
His rookie year was pretty decent.
It was gimmicky. He did all right. He had good stats, but he didn't show he could be a dependable option.
Yeah.
Samuel last year had some pretty good games where people were actually having him ranked as far as the number 1 option out of all the Commanders last year for a stretch of 4 or 5 games. So, and then they went out and paid the guy. He's one of the few people that You know, he can play in the backfield. He can do mid game, and he can go deep, right? Of course, they spent the high draft pick, the second round pick on Ken Coleman. And then Shakir kind of showed a little bit last year. If you'd asked me to rank them, though, I'd probably rank Samuel number 1, Coleman number 2. Crazy enough, I'd actually rank Claypool number 3. And there's a chance Claypool can bump to number 2. Just because, like you said, he's a vet now. He's bounced around a few teams. From all reports that we're hearing, and I'm not a big report guy this early in the season, but from all the reports we're hearing, he's leaving a good impression there. He's working hard. Yeah. We know he has a good size for a receiver. And honestly, that receiver room is not that, scary as far as the competition.
He could be Gabe Davis.
I guess he could be. He could be Gabe Davis. I guess. Yeah. I mean, we don't even know what Keon Coleman is going to be yet. Right? He's still a rookie. He's still a rookie. He doesn't have the greatest route tree. Keon Coleman, to some extent, reminds me of Kelvin Benjamin a little bit. Maybe better.
Same offensive coordinator.
Yeah, same college too.
Yeah.
So, you saw how Kelvin Benjamin ended up. So we'll see what Keon Coleman does. Right now, he's getting that top rookie treatment from the fan base. Everybody loves him. He's being drafted as such. I just don't know if he's that yet. As far as the tight ends are concerned, I still think Dawson Knox is being totally underrated. I think they're going to use him way more than people think. I think they like Dalton Kincaid, and there was a stretch last year where Dalton Kincaid did well, but that stretch is when Dawson Knox was hurt. And as soon as when Dawson Knox came back, Dawson Knox started to eat into that
where do you rank Kincaid in the wide
value
receiver?
Kincaid had. I'm sorry?
What do you rank Kincaid amongst the wide receivers? Like as far as if you had to rank reception, yard, what would you rank Kincaid?
Can I have Dawson Knox in it?
Yeah.
So 3 or 4?
But you think Kincaid is targets like 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
After 1 or 2 receivers.
After 2 of the, and then after who else? After Knox?
2 of the receivers, and then maybe Knox.
And then maybe Knox.
So 3 or 4, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
I mean, wait, let me ask y'all this. Did Kincaid start over Knox last year? No.
They play different positions.
He never. What do you mean they're literally the exact same position. What are you talking about? They're both tight ends. Kincaid never started over Knox. So everybody that has the impression that y'all have right now are going straight off of assumption that Kincaid is going to jump over Knox, right? They haven't.
I don't think he's going to jump over Knox.
They haven't
I think they run different
Kincaid
positions.
is going to be the main guy. They haven't shown specifically Kincaid is going to be the main guy. We just are excited about Kincaid. I think to some extent has kind of to do with Laporta, how excited we were with how Laporta did last year as a rookie.
Yeah.
And we kind of grouped Kincaid kind of in that same boat. But I don't think Knox is going anywhere. And Knox, honestly, out of every offensive player on that team right now, Knox is the one that's been with them the longest. He has the longest rapport with Allen. And they paid him, was it last year they paid him? Or maybe the year before, but they paid Knox, which means they like the guy. Same coaching staff. I want to say the same GM.
Yeah, but then they went out and drafted Dawson Kincaid in the first round.
Yeah, they did. But still, even last year, they started off the season where Knox was the guy, and then when Knox got hurt and he came back, he was still the guy. And I'm not saying that I know Knox is going to start over Kincaid. I'm just saying we're just totally assuming that's the case. That's why I said it's either 3 or 4. If Knox starts, then obviously to me, Kincaid is 4. If Kincaid starts, I would say he's 3, but at the same time, I think Knox is going to eat into the role that everybody's expecting Kincaid to have. If Knox was not available, then of course Kincaid would vault up. Yeah. But I don't see Knox just being totally ignored for that team.
I just think they use him very differently. So to me,
but going off of what though?
Going off of how they use them. Like sometimes they play together. I mean, sometimes they have 2 tight end sets, but they have them run different routes. They have them do different things. Yeah.
Okay.
And, when Kincaid is on the field, Kincaid is running routes.
He is.
Okay, but they're still
targets.
using Knox. Like there's what I'm saying is Kincaid is, out of every other high end tight end, which tight end is sharing the tight end role with another player? Out of every
a
other
lot of
high
teams
end
run 2 tight end sets.
I mean, which teams though? Like Laporta has nobody that's sharing snaps for tight end. Kels doesn't. Mark Andrews doesn't. Likely wasn't even used until Mark Andrews got hurt.
Well, you say sharing. It's not as if if Knox is on the field and Kincaid is not on the field.
I said sharing. He's out there as well. They're using 2 tight ends.
Yeah,
basically.
I want to say Kincaid's and again he was a rookie. I want to say his snap percentage towards the back end of the year, when Knox was there and healthy, if I can recall, was around 65-70%.
Oh, I don't.
For a rookie.
I don't have stats like that memorized.
I mean,
I couldn't do that.
But also, just looking at the production towards the end of the season, I mean, like, look at these targets that he's getting. I mean, week 17, 7 targets, 18, 8 targets, week 19, 6 targets, week 20, 20 targets. I mean, like, he finished the season pretty strong. And I think that's what's
But again, Knox was just coming back from injury. They didn't ignore, when Knox came back, and again, I'm not talking about targets, right? Like,
well, look at the, I mean,
like if
look at the receptions.
If like Knox was not there, then Kincaid would be number 2 to me, right? Like, because he has everything. He's the main guy there. But when Knox is there, they're not just totally ignoring him.
But Knox was there during these games, though, that I just read out.
Go to Knox numbers.
All right. So
like were they not using Knox? What I'm saying is
not like Kincaid.
Not like Kincaid.
I didn't say they're using them the same. What I'm saying is he's sharing with another tight end. No other tight end, no other top tight end is sharing with another tight end.
I guess the way I look at it is like, I look at it as a receiving pool and not like a tight end pool. Like, I'm not looking at it as like 100%, you know, from the tight end pool, Knox gets 25, Kincaid gets 75. I'm looking at it as like the receiving pool is 100%, Kincaid gets X percentage, Knox gets X percentage, Coleman gets X percentage, Shakir gets X percentage, you know, Claypool's not even on the team.
But again, that's why I said I have Kincaid number 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I said 3 or 4. I just don't think he's 2, and I definitely don't think he's 1.
Yeah, so again, I hate wide receiver 2s, but the Buffalo Bills, I think one, you really have to like go back and look at how their offensive philosophy changed when they made the switch at offensive coordinator. I think we got to look at what they've done in the offseason in terms of the guys that they brought in, including the wide receivers, these big body wide receivers. I'm assuming they don't want them just running routes. I'm assuming they also want them there to block. Even a Curtis Samuel, a smaller guy, is a guy that can be used in the backfield. This team wants to run a lot. So I just think, like, it may not even matter who's 2, because who's 1 may not be getting enough to really support, you know, or really
I think
provide
it matters who's number 2, because I don't see the 1 as being a dog alpha type player where they're just going to command.
That's my point. My point is that it's going to be so close between 1, 2, and 3 that it may make it or provide a situation where you just don't feel comfortable or feel like you have much upside in starting any of these guys. These guys are going late. I get
honestly,
it,
these players are not players people are depending on to be major pieces of their. Which again, I think is a mistake. Like, for all the reasons I was mentioning.
Talk to him.
I've been saying I don't like Kincaid. I think Kincaid is super overvalued. But like again, none of these players are players that people are drafting with the hopes of being mainstay starters. We're talking about guys where when you're in a pinch, right? Like your guy's hurt, your main guy's hurt. You need somebody to play. You're dealing with bye weeks. Who's the guy that you're going to play? Who's the depth? And then if somebody does get injured, then who is the guy that you think is going to then take a bigger piece of a bigger share of the pie, right? That's the way you're trying to figure this out, because once it happens, it's going to be too late. Like, you're not going to be able to get the guy because now you're competing with everybody else for waiver, fab. And again, these guys are all being taken in the late double-digit round, mid to late double-digit rounds. So
who's your favorite guy to take out? Is Curtis Samuel?
As far as all the receivers, definitely Curtis Samuel. Number 2, Keon. Mystery box receivers are always going to alert me. Like, they're always going to be like, man, we don't know what they are. Like, we've had rookies that went into the NFL who were horrible prospects and went crazy. We've had rookies that were great prospects and were trash, right?
I'll tell you this, though. You talk about Kelvin Benjamin, and we know Kelvin Benjamin didn't pan out, but he did have that one season. He did. Think it was and the reason that season was so successful from a fantasy standpoint is because of all the touchdowns that he scored. And the reason he scored so many touchdowns is because he was a big body wide receiver that Cam would just sort of kind of just like zone in on. And in the red zone, it's not as if like Buffalo is just filled with all these different red zone weapons. So I could definitely see, I wouldn't put it past Keon Coleman. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year Keon Coleman had 9 to 10 TDs.
I mean, Keon Coleman could be
in like different ways.
Keon Coleman could be like Kelvin Benjamin that first year. He could also be like Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? Like a big body, high hopes, but really just doesn't have the right skill set to do anything. It could be either or.
I like the Curtis Samuel. I struggle with like Curtis Samuel upside, but I don't know that we've ever seen him in this type of role where he is like there's like really not a player above him that
That's
you would
the thing.
say.
I don't think
is
you're
more
really
talented.
arguing upside. Just you're arguing who is the best out of the bunch, right? If you unless you just want to totally avoid all the pass catchers, or unless you really feel like Kincaid is just going to be dominant this year. Like if you feel like Kincaid is just going to be the guy, the number one target for that team, he's just going to go crazy because Josh Allen is going to throw that ball.
Well, that's what the market is doing, but I think that's where we run into issues. It's okay to be wrong on like your 10th round pick, even 9th, 8th round. It's okay to be wrong, but like when we don't take stabs, that's when we miss out. And that's what we do here. We target these offenses that are very, very confusing. And it doesn't have to be like, okay, take this guy like this is the answer. But I think like the discussion that was just had, like considering all these options, considering a Curtis Samuel, considering a Coleman. Hell, even in the best ball, even if you want to say, you know what, I'm drafting Josh Allen and I'm finding it difficult to stack him with Kincaid. Maybe I don't believe in some of these other players, or I just want to differentiate myself. Hell, 20, with the 18th round pick or the last pick, let me go ahead and, grab a Chase Claypool.
I think the thing with me is I know the players I know, right? Like I know what MVS is.
Yeah.
I don't want MVS on my team. Even though I know he has the potential to give you that one spike week. I just don't want his profile on my team.
Yeah,
I know what Shakir is. He's a nice player. He's going to probably, get you a lot of possession catches. He might even break one here and there. But I don't see Shakir as being a alpha number one.
Yeah.
Right? So I know that. When I take a stab at Samuel, it's simply because right now I think he's the best. Coleman, mystery box, profile, high draft capital.
Yeah.
Claypool with the buzz. Those are the guys where like if I'm targeting somebody, those are the guys I'm targeting because at least I can say all of them have the potential of being a big player on my team.
And that's actionable. Because, the funny thing is like, when we've had this discussion, we have these discussions year in and year out. And when we're having them in the moment, like, we don't have the foresight of what's going to happen. And we really don't do a lot of just like back padding. We don't really do like a lot of like revisionists, like, okay, remember when we talked about said, but like, I really encourage people like go back and watch like 2022, 2023. If you got the time, go back and watch. We spent a lot of time talking about these types of teams, breaking them down, telling you what, the players that we like, what, how we're going to target it. And when you're listening now, you're just like, okay, because everybody's throwing out takes right now. But but these types of teams, it's not about listening to like who we want to take, or it's really about, okay, like there's a lot of ambiguity here. None of this feels right. But Josh Allen is their quarterback.
So somebody kind of has to hit.
He's throwing that ball, man.
Even if they, run a lot more, than they did the first half of last year, they're still gonna throw the ball, and they're still gonna throw it to somebody.
Right.
So we still got to figure out, like, where we're gonna take these stats, and they're cheap.
Exactly.
So like that's like the biggest thing. Like that's where you win. And maybe it's just like diversifying and grabbing a bunch of those guys.
So as tight ends kind of move up the board, I think we're kind of seeing quarterbacks sort of be pushed down the board a little bit. So I want to talk about your quarterback 2024 strategy. I think the first quarterback coming off the board is said Josh Allen.
Which I don't get, right? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, right? But,
No.
Look at what the discussion we just had.
Yeah.
We're not excited about any of these receivers at all. Yeah, he's a running quarterback, but there's other running quarterbacks, right? Like, well, there's other guys that run a lot.
Goal line quarterback.
There's other goal line quarterback. No guy that we feel like just put the ball in their hands, they have the threat to take to the house. But yeah, we're still drafting this guy number one consensus quarterback wise across the board. Like, make it make sense to me. You look at somebody like Jalen Hurts, he has 2 receivers taken in the first 4 rounds of the draft. Yet look at Mahomes, he has Kelsey being taken in the first 3 rounds, Hollywood, Xavier. Who else is a high-end quarterback being taken?
Rasheed Rice.
But here's the thought
Disrespect
process.
Rasheed Rice.
That's right. My bad.
But here's the thought process, is that we've seen Josh Allen play in games where Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis didn't put out these monster performances, but yet Josh Allen ran in touchdowns and put up big performances and scored a lot of fantasy points. And so the idea is that with Stephon Diggs gone, Gabe gone, is that Josh Allen is going to have to do this on a week-in basis, not just like how he plays in the playoffs.
So the analogy to this can be kind of years back when we had the Deshaun Watson discussion, right? When they traded DeAndre Hopkins. And we were saying here that we felt like it was going to benefit Watson because this is going to allow him to spread the ball around. He's not going to lock on one receiver. And then what ended up happening is he actually led the league in passing. So it actually ended up happening the way we said it was going to happen.
Yeah.
The biggest difference I think with both of those is that made, again, Watson throw more. I don't know if Josh Allen's going to throw more. And we still had other receivers to go to. We still had a Will Fuller option.
Yeah.
We still had, who's the other guy we had? We had like these other receivers that he was throwing it to that were actually being valuable with the as far as targets. I don't know if I see that with the Bills. And again, we know Josh Allen's going to run, right? I think we've seen the ceiling of Josh Allen in the past. Like we've seen him run, and we've also seen him utilize high-end receivers. Now it's the same exact situation. He's going to run most likely, but then he doesn't have these high-end wide receivers. So I think the value should be reduced. Now, if you tell me he's not even going to run, then that means to me he should be going in the Tua, Goff, Caleb Williams range. You know, like I'm not saying he shouldn't be a high-end quarterback. I just don't understand why he's number one.
Yeah.
This is such a fun year to like approach QBs and draft, because there's every situation is just so drastically different, in my opinion. So I never want to be the first one to take it, because like you said, like I don't see Josh Allen as this tier above the rest. Like his situation to me did not get better.
Have y'all always seen him go number one?
I have.
Yeah.
Based on
Every
his
single
weapons
time?
and based on like the projected like volume that he was like going to get as far as in the passing game. And to me, like they've never really had a threat, in the run game. I still don't even view James Cook as like this major threat in the run game, especially near the goal line. So that team is Josh Allen or bust. So I still think he's worth a top 3, top 5 pick, because he's going to do whatever it takes. If that includes like throwing his body across the goal line, he's going to do it. Like he's going to do whatever it takes. I don't think the defense is going to be as good this year. So and I don't see like a running back that's just going to take, over the goal line or just dominate in rushing. So
can you go to Josh Allen's numbers, by the way? I'm curious.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of quarterbacks. You can make a case for like almost every single quarterback, almost outside of Josh Allen. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. And he seems to be like really falling out of favor with a lot of people. I love the change in the offensive coordinator. I love the idea, again, I keep going back to some of these play callers just being very mundane, very vanilla, and it just makes it easy on defense. And you put so much pressure on your wide receiver to just win in his route, as opposed to like trying to scheme him open. And so, think of Kellen Moore, what you think of Kellen Moore, but to me, his offensive scheme is a lot better. When Kellen Moore had a healthy Chargers, Mike Williams was eating, Keenan Allen was eating, even Gerald Everett was eating. Herbert was dominating early on in the season before all the injuries took place. Even Eckler was eating. So I really, really love Jalen Hurts. And then you add in a Saquon Barkley, where that adds a little bit of threat to the run game. I think that opens up lanes more for Jalen Hurts as well. I love the Eagles this year. Especially the receiving options.
I got you, but take a look at these Josh Allen numbers, though. I mean,
not bad. I mean, we finished, what did he finish? QB1, right?
QB2.
QB2? Who was one?
No, he was one. He was one,
yeah.
Go back, you just had to post it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at these. I mean, they're okay.
Yeah.
The passing numbers aren't that great. He honestly sustained with all these touchdowns. He's scoring 2 touchdowns rushing.
That's it.
3 out of the last 5 games, and then those other 2 games he had 1 touchdown. So
you could say regression.
I mean, he just has to sustain that, right? Like he has to sustain that. He wasn't throwing that many passing touchdowns at the end of the year for whatever reason. I don't know if that's the time they just stopped using Diggs. He started throwing 1 touchdown and no touchdowns.
They stopped passing.
But again, that has to go up. The passing has to go up, because if he's just going to continue to run, I mean, that's going to be cool, and I feel like teams are eventually going to learn how to contain that, but that's going to cap his fantasy potential. Yeah. Like he's just not going to be able to put a ridiculous number. Yeah. The only game he had, after week 9, the only game he had over, 30 was that one game against Philly. Yeah. Other than that, he was kind of like just a high-end quarterback.
But he's still capable. Yeah, he's still capable of that. But but I'm in agreement. Like as far as like why is he the number one? Like I don't necessarily I don't see an issue with him being number one. But I definitely think you can make a case for all of them. Even Mahomes, who had a really bad year last year, you could definitely make the argument. And they're literally,
Lamar Jackson.
They're literally telling you in camp that they plan to like really stretch the field. They signed Marquise Brown. They signed Xavier Worthy. They have Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice apparently has been like doing really well in camp. They have Travis Kelce back, And
I mean, tell me this.
they still a running back is still Pacheco.
What makes
as great as Pacheco as good as he did last year? But it's not like Pacheco's is like world beater.
I mean, tell me this. What makes Josh Allen's scenario better than Lamar Jackson?
Lamar just hasn't been running as much in my mind.
Look at the numbers. Lamar ran for 821 last year. Josh Allen 457.
It's the touchdowns.
The biggest, the touchdowns. That's the biggest difference.
That's been a trend. That's not like a one. That's not just like a 1 year trend. Like that's been like a trend over the last few years for Lamar. But this is also
not
the big
scoring
key.
the touchdowns?
Yeah, this is also the big key. They rush a lot in the red zone. That's the play. That's the plays that are called is a running back to get the ball. Maybe they do a little RPO, but usually it's a running back getting the carry
You mean Baltimore?
inside the goal. Yeah, Baltimore. And guess who they just signed in the offseason? Derrick Henry. So I don't necessarily see that like Lamar is just gonna like break out and get you like double-digit rushing TDs this year.
Yeah, I mean, if he's rushing for that many yardage, I mean, it comes with variance at that point.
But we started off by talking about like QB approach. I mean, even if you look at last year's stat, Dak was the number 4 overall quarterback. He was one of my favorites last year. I like Andrew Luck. Remember, like last year, I traded straight up Tua for Andrew Luck or for Jordan Love, and we had talked about how that was a bad trade from a standpoint of value. But we had all agreed that we would rather have Love over Tua.
I forgot you did that trade.
Yep.
Straight up.
Dang, I forgot you did that discussion.
Tua.
Dang.
And I remember like submitting it. And then, like in 2 seconds, like it was accepted. And you never want somebody to accept a trade that quickly.
Yeah,
you're like, damn.
but we knew he had the higher potential, though. That's
even
really the reason.
even like Brock Purdy, like wide or QB 7, Mahomes was like 8. Golf was 8, 9, and some of this is related to injuries and things like that. So maybe points per game is a little bit more important. But a lot of these guys are going early. Some of these guys are going in the mid rounds, and some of these guys are going in the late rounds. So I think this is a great year where you can like literally do whatever you want to do a quarterback. If you're playing in large tournaments, no one's going to know which quarterback is just going to be elite the like last 3 weeks of the year. So I don't necessarily know that you can like look back at 2023 and say, okay, like late round quarterbacks dominated last year. So let's just do late round again this year.
Overvalued looking at this? Sorry, you can finish your point.
Yeah, I was just saying so I think this year like there's value across the board. My whole thing is just like don't like take a quarterback early. So when I try to get these elite guys, I just wait till they fall past ADP, or if it's a situation where like I had like a draft that we were in where I was like I had AJ Brown, and then like Jalen Hurts fell to like the late 5th round. In that situation, I was like, you know what, like this is a situation where I'm not reaching. I feel comfortable. I was like, let me go ahead and stack this up. But otherwise, like I'm leaning more towards waiting because we'll talk about some of the late round quarterbacks, but I love some of the later round guys.
So you know who's severely overvalued right now in drafts from just looking at this list?
Yeah.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I agree.
Ridiculously overvalued. And ridiculously undervalued, I guess you would say Brock Purdy, Love, and Prescott.
Yep.
Especially Purdy.
And Kyler Murray. Yeah. And then my favorite, Jaden Daniels.
Well, Kyler Murray didn't do anything last year. I'm just looking at this list, right? Like,
you know what Jaden Daniels reminds me of, personally? The first year that I won, I drafted a ton of Lamar. And my whole strategy was like, okay, give me just a kind of a safe QB, and it was usually like a Ben Roethlisberger, and then try to get as much Lamar as possible. And I just would and sometimes I would take Lamar first, and then I would take the next guy second. So I basically been taking that approach this year. I just try to get Jaden Daniels on all my teams. And then I'll take like a Brock Purdy. Or I'll take like a Trevor Lawrence. Or hell, I'll take a Deshaun Watson.
You know who I'll take late? Aaron Rodgers.
I can't get there.
No, I'll take him late. He's not even being drafted. Or he's being drafted like the 18th, 19th round. Like, that's the bare bottom.
Redraft or best ball you talking about?
Both. Oof. Maybe not. No, best ball he's going higher. Because I was in the best ball the other day, and I was aiming for him, and somebody, sniped me. But redraft, he's going. I mean, I'm not saying he has to be your first quarterback, but if you tell me you have a former MVP, MVP 2-3 years ago, as your second quarterback, who's going to be dealing with Gary Wilson, who's a top 12 redraft pick, and Breece Hall in the backfield, who catches the ball, I think led the league in receiving yards for a running back last year. Why not?
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, he has weapons. He's with the offensive coordinator that everybody hates except for him.
Yeah.
Feels like that's a skeleton key or something. I don't know. Yeah. So it's like, and we're just totally ignoring. And then don't ignore the fact that he might be on an FU tour this year, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've seen that before, so
Just kick off YouTube. Yeah.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, yeah. I don't know why I have a mental block, but you're probably
A lot of
right.
people do.
Yeah,
and I think
I can't
part of
get
it
that.
is we forgot.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, did he have a bad season his last year in Green Bay? He didn't have a bad season, right?
He did. No, he did. He did. It
Was
was.
it bad season?
It was not. It was not a good season. His last year in Green
I
Bay.
don't remember
was
being
not
a
good season.
bad season.
It was
I just
not a
feel
good
like
season.
I feel like it was the last season where they
You can
were
probably pull it up.
Super
Go to
Bowl like
2022.
contestants, and they just happened to lose in the playoffs to like a team that they probably shouldn't have lost to.
I just think, like, from a production standpoint, like, he just didn't do very well.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, he
Well,
had
the year
200
before that, he won the MVP.
He had 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Didn't really run much. I think he finished outside the top 12 of quarterbacks. And he just, he was.
He also had only 500 attempts. Something he must have got hurt.
I think he only missed 2 games that way because Love. He may only miss 1 game that year. Cause,
But
Love,
25 touchdowns is pretty good. I mean, I
25
don't know.
touchdowns? Nah.
Did
25
he-
touchdowns and 11 interceptions? That's not good.
I mean, what did Jalen Hurts had 22?
But he ran for a lot.
Lawrence had less than that. Cousins had
These guys were rookies, though.
no. Lawrence wasn't a rookie that year.
Oh, but I mean, technically he was. I mean, technically he wasn't, but he really was. Because his first year didn't really count.
And Lamar had 17. I mean, it wasn't a horrible season. But it wasn't his best, definitely.
Yeah. So I think the thought was like, maybe he's falling off. He's a little bit older, and then he's coming off the Achilles. So, but again, like you're getting him for free. So,
But also, didn't he not have any receivers that year? Because Devontae Adams had been traded.
yeah, you could say he didn't have any receivers.
I mean, who did he have?
Christian Watson and
The
Romeo
rookie,
Doubs.
Christian Watson. Who remember he had that like short little stretch of game where he was going crazy.
Yeah, he went crazy.
And then
no, he had his boy Alan Lazard. That was I remember that summer. Everyone was heated. The Lazard.
Man.
Yeah, Lazard. The pro Lazard. I think they ended up winning that discussion.
That's the thing though. It was like he was going from these hodgepodge of receivers that nobody respected to like Garrett Wilson, who they were actually going to benefit from each other. And that was a big reason why. Because people were taking Aaron Rodgers, I think, mid-round last year.
Yeah, I could not do it.
Yeah.
I'd rather just give me Deshaun Watson. He is the most undervalued. Deshaun Watson
kind of
criminally undervalued.
I like him, but he kind of scares me.
He should scare you because, like, literally, he could just be a league winner because, like, you could just not draft a quarterback.
I think what scares me about him, he might just not be the guy anymore. It's been a long time, man.
Yeah.
Since we've seen him play
can't
well.
sit out of football that long, man.
Talks out of camp so that
He didn't really sit out of football that long, though. He only sat out 1 year.
He sat out 1 year, but they got hurt.
Yeah.
You sat out a whole year. People.
Yeah, and then he got hurt last year, too.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So you really have not seen him, like, in this offense. And then, like, there have been talks about just, like, them, like, because now they got Judy, they have Elijah Moore, they got Njoku, bring more of a spread offense.
I mean, but it just
kind of more suited to his.
The risk is just he's just been out for so long, or not even that he's been out. It's just that it's been a while since we've seen him play at a high level. And honestly, we haven't seen him play at a high level since he was with the Texans.
Go to his game.
So maybe that's a factor we have to take into consideration. Maybe he's just not. Maybe it's Bill O'Brien. Honestly,
he's a quarterback that still runs. That's being drafted in the 15th round and later.
It's more like
there is no risk.
It's more like running because nobody's open, scrambling type run. It's not like design runs.
You can get a good amount of points from that.
Yeah.
But even if you look back at his atrocious year last year with the injuries, he still was putting up about 20 fantasy points per game. Even as bad as it was last year, I think he was still putting up about 20 fantasy points per game.
No, fantasy-wise, I'm not concerned because he always has that Konami code factor to him, right? Like, that's always something that he can benefit from. I'm just more concerned about him as a quarterback in the NFL. Like, I'm starting to be concerned he's just not that guy anymore, especially for somebody that has a lot of dynasty shares of Deshaun Watson.
Jury's still out. Jury for sure is still out. Like, he started the season off, again, as bad as he played, he started the season off 23 fantasy points, 17 fantasy points, and 24 fantasy points. Okay? Then he got hurt. Then he came back, 21 fantasy points, 19 fantasy points. That is not terrible. Those aren't terrible numbers. This guy's going in the 15th round.
Those aren't great either.
But those are very replaceable, though.
Yeah.
Replaceable, but he's going in the 15th round.
Yeah.
These are better than a lot of the guys that are going ahead of him.
Yeah, but also that has the risk factor baked into it as well. I mean, the injury factor. Like, he's missed a lot of games. Like, just looking at this, there's a lot of zeros on that page, and if it's a type of output that you feel like is replaceable with somebody else similar type value that you can get around that same area, then probably you would have
my
attacked that.
My upside argument is simply he is another year in, healthy, potentially healthy, with
he's not even healthy right now.
With a pretty decent wide receiver core, he's no
not
Nick
even.
Chubb. That's the biggest thing to me. There is no Nick Chubb.
So you can't just lean
There
on
is
the
no
run.
Nick Chubb. I mean, I'm not knocking Ford. I'm not knocking Foreman, but there is no Nick Chubb. So I'm just saying,
No, I got you. All right, guys, I think that's our episode this week. Unless Dio has some dynasty picks you want to.
I have nobody. I didn't even think about anybody. We talked about Parkinson. We talked about the rookie Jared Wiley for the Chiefs. He's getting a little bit of buzz. Travis Kelce's getting long in the tooth, so don't ignore him. Demarcus Robinson, who's a vet, but I'm seeing him around a lot. And if you look at his stretch of games at the end of the season last year, he had like 4 or 5 games where he's like more than 15 points each game.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's crazy production for somebody that's
he took Tutu Atwell's spot.
Yeah, that's literally just on your waiver wire, who they re-signed, right? Trey Sermon, I think we talked about him, but I mean, everybody's saying he's a running back too. Just go get him, right?
Yeah.
Just have him available to you. Jonathan Taylor, if he gets hurt, you have a guy right there that can explode. Yeah, and that's it. And then your guy, Hayden Hurst.
I'm
looking into it. The only other competition they have is Will Dissly. He has the connection with the coach from the Baltimore Ravens year. So just a couple guys I'm throwing out there to just add to the end of your bench. I'm the type of person that always churns the end of my roster. So
I would bring up Audrey Estime right now because of the injury, because he's not been in the OTAs. I've really seen him fall down the board. And I don't know what's going on with that backfield. We brought this up last year. Sean Payton likes to use 2 running backs. He likes to use 2 running backs because I remember last year everyone was like big on Javonte even after the injury. He likes to use 2 running backs. He does that everywhere. So I'm not, until he doesn't, that's just what I'm assuming. But still, he uses his running backs a lot. And this wide receiver room really is void of just like you said, just true alpha wide receivers. No disrespect to Sutton. But true alpha,
you sleeping on
target
Sutton,
hogs,
man.
wide receivers.
Sutton is way too undervalued. I'm sorry. Sutton is way too undervalued.
Possibly. But, so, Audrey Estime is going really, really late. And this is just one of those very, very questionable, unknown situations. So, he's just somebody that, now that his ADP is really falling, this is the perfect time to get him. Don't wait until, he's healthy and he's in training camp and then they talk about how, he had a great day. Then he's going to shoot up. Because everybody's already kind of talking about Javonte Williams maybe not making the team, and who knows what's going on with that situation. But those are the positions and those are the backfields that you really want to attack right now this early on because you could stand a hit.
Also, look for the wide receiver 3 for the Lions. Just do it.
Khalif Raymond?
Yeah, maybe him. Maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe somebody else. Just have that person in mind because if Jamison Wilson doesn't work out, somebody's going to benefit from that. It's not going to be all Amon St. Brown.
Jamison Williams not going to work out, I don't think.
Well, then you should be looking for who that wide receiver is.
I think Khalif Raymond is it. I think he's their wide receiver too.
Oh, you think he's their wide receiver too?
I think he's their wide receiver too.
That's interesting.
I think Jamison is just going to be a gadget type guy. Maybe a couple end of rounds, a couple deep shots, but he's not going. I think Khalif Raymond is going to take that Josh Reynolds role. So whatever Josh Reynolds did last year, if you're happy with that, if that's what you want on your fantasy team, or you're Amon-Ra contingency upside, in case he goes down, that's the guy that I would be looking at. I do not think that I have not seen anything from Jamison Williams. I never understood the hype to begin with. I thought that he was
a Heisman Trophy winner. What are you talking about?
He was fast. He was in Alabama.
He was a Heisman Trophy winner as a receiver.
He shouldn't have been.
That doesn't happen often, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we got to end the pod on that.
Shouldn't have been.
You going nuts now. Please like, rate, subscribe,
waiting for I don't like to wait for help for you to respond. Okay, look at who you got. Look at who I am. Like, respond to all of it.
roaming around, you got a case of amnesia. Baby says all in the fun, but I hit the wall and I've got a tongue.